It was 2017 when this bizarre and creepy incident happened to my friends and I. We were teenagers, and these violent graphics changed our lives so traumatically that my friend and I still regret our decision to this day. So let's start the story. During the midwinter of 2017, I was studying in my high school, and I had some friends who were into computers the whole time. Most of the time at school, they used to tell me stories about the deep web. Since I belonged to a middle-class family, although I had a computer at the time, not that much advanced as my friends had at the time. But after insisting 3 to 4 times, my mother promised to buy me a PC if I somehow managed to get good grades. Unfortunately, I did not score well on my exam, but somehow I managed to pass the exam. I was sad because I knew that my parents would never buy me a new PC after getting such bad grades, but when I got home from school, I was surprised to see that my parents had already bought a new PC for me. Even though I did not score well, my parents were not angry at me, and they let it go by telling me to work harder next time. I was super happy and stayed up the whole night. I played games that I've always dreamt of, and the next time I went to school, I was very excited to tell my friends about my new PC. And I also couldn't wait to surf the deep web. As I mentioned earlier, I was a teenager, and my curiosity to access the deep web was at its peak. I don't know how I waited for all the classes to end, but when school ended, my friends and I gathered at the basketball court. We were waiting for our other 2 friends so we could go to my house and learn about getting access to the deep web on my PC. At around 5 p.m. on December 7th, 2017, my semester ended. I still remember the date and time, so you can imagine how pissed off and scared I was after what I saw that day. My 3 other friends and I, names James, Harry, and Michael, came to my place. My mom opened the door and told us to eat something, but we were so curious to get into the deep web that we refused her by saying that we weren't hungry. Michael already had experience getting into the deep web, so he sat on the computer chair, and we started observing him. At first, he opened the browser and started downloading the Tor browser. That browser had logo of Onion, which I guess was why it was most often known as the Onion browser. However, when the downloading was finished, he told me to make an account, and after all the technical stuff like creating a virtual network and space, so in case anyone hacked my computer, he could not access my data. So, it was all the stuff, and I do not want to mention the whole procedure here as I assume that most people already know about it. You can do your own research if you want to access it. However, after getting into the deep web, I could see that it was different from the browsers we used to surf on the surface web. There were different links and websites there. My friend Michael asked me what I wanted to watch. I didn't know what to say then, so I just told him to open something interesting. I assumed that he was just pretending to be the expert on that thing, but in reality, he did not know much about it because he was opening different links, and for 1 hour, he opened different spam links, but finally, after that much struggle and time, we eventually opened the chat room in which we started chatting with a person who claimed that he was some sort of guy who could help us get inside the most horrible section of the deep web. The guy's statement excited us, and we told him to send us the link to get there. After some time, he sent us the link, and we clicked on it. It seemed that we opened a blank page, but after about 1 or 2 minutes, a warning text about the violent graphic and content appeared at the bottom of the page, and another button under the text. After asking all of us, Michael clicked on that button. A blank red page opened with a countdown of 30 seconds started. After 30 seconds, a live stream started on the page. In the live stream was a girl sitting on a chair, and both of her hands were tied by ropes, and her face was covered with a black cloth. Then about 5 to 10 seconds passed when a door opened all of a sudden, and a man appeared with a plate full of raw meat in his hands. He placed the plate on the table in front of the girl. He started forcing her to eat the raw meat. When the girl showed some resistance, he started beating her and peeled off the skin of her arm every time she showed some resistance. It was so horrible that one of my friends named Harry went to the toilet because he had to vomit. When we were watching that creepy video, my mom opened the door and saw the stream. She was shocked to see that video on my computer. My mom was so mad at us that she called my friends home and told their parents about the stuff we were watching. After that, My parents did not allow me to open my PC for the next 2 months. Then after that, I never tried to get on the deep web ever again. But that video traumatized me and left horrible impact on my brain. I still see and hear the screams of that girl in my dreams. It was 2018 when I was studying at my university in New York. I moved out there after finishing high school just a year before. I was pursuing my career in computer sciences. I'm from a lower middle class family, and they couldn't afford my university fees or dorm, so I had to study extra hard to get enrolled in New York's University Scholarship Program. After a lot of struggle, I finally managed to score good grades in high school and successfully qualified for the University Scholarship Program. New York was a totally different world for me. A new city with new faces. I didn't know anyone here, so at first, I had some difficulties. But after almost 2 months, I became used to it and adapted myself according to the city's environment. During my school days, my father bought me a laptop, and from that, I fell in love with computer sciences. I also started my side hustle as an ethical hacker. I was not a professional hacker at the time, but hacking or recovering some Facebook or Instagram accounts was not a problem for me. Even my school friends used to come and pay me to recover their lost accounts. In most cases, they forgot their account passwords, or some girls who wanted to hack their boyfriend's phone so they could read their messages, so they used to approach me for the help. And it was not bothering me as long as I was getting paid for it. I was pretty famous amongst my school friends for my hacking skills. As I mentioned earlier, I made a lot of money from hacking, so I upgraded my laptop and paid my university fees. I was happy because I finally became financially independent, and my parents had not to worry about my expenses. After almost 2 years, I started losing interest in hacking. Even though I was getting paid well, there was no thrill anymore. In my second week of university, I met a friend named Jack, who was also an ethical hacker. Not like me, but he was way more advanced than me. He knew about some techniques that I've never heard of before, and he told me about the cool thing called the deep web, and how he made a lot of money by providing his hacking services there. Back in 2018, there was a craze about such things related to the deep web, and students used to share their stories about how they purchased illegal drugs from the deep web by paying dealers in Bitcoin. Now, just for clarification, before that day, although I heard about the deep web from some of my school gatherings, I did not know much about the process of accessing it, because I heard from some of my friends that it was technical procedure, and to be honest, I had never made any efforts to access it. So it was the first time when someone was telling me the details about getting in. And from that day, I regained my interest in hacking, and I decided that I would learn much more advanced things this time. I asked my friend Jack if he could come to my dorm room and teach me new techniques about hacking and how to access the dark web. Jack did not hesitate about coming into my dorm. By the evening, he was there. Jack and I opened our laptops, and he started telling me about stuff like what browser to download and how to make security checks, as the deep web was full of illegal drug dealers and hackers who would hack your accounts and would upload your private data for the public just for their fun. And he also told me about the bizarre torture videos published by ISIS accounts and the notorious websites associated with child pornography. I followed his instructions one by one and eventually made it to the deep web. At first, I didn't see as much creepy stuff as I heard from my friends, but as soon as Jack opened the chat rooms on my laptop, I saw a bunch of people who were offering their services as drug dealers, hackers, and also some of them were selling 18+ content, that I guess was for the mentally ill people because a normal person would never pay for such things. I was ignoring everything until I read a message from an anonymous account offering his target killing service, and I was shocked to see that he had an ad for it. As I was curious to know more about the illegal world of the deep web, I opened his ad pic and was surprised to see that he was killing political figures for $8,000 worth of Bitcoin, law enforcement officers for just $3,000 worth of Bitcoin. And he was also offering that if someone wants to torture their rivals, he will charge an extra $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. At the bottom of his ad, he also had some contact details, so I told Jack about it and showed him the ad. He was also curious to know more about this person, so we decided to contact him. As soon as we contacted him, we asked him if he could send us some sort of video as proof that our money would not go to waste, or that he wasn't a scammer. The assassinator agreed, and he sent us some pictures of his victims. And after some time, He sent us some videos in which we could clearly see that the victim was shot dead on the road by a guy who was covered himself in such clothes that no one could recognize him. And in another video, there was an old naked man who was tied to a chair, and the other person was cutting his body parts one by one. At that point, we were scared, and I came up with the idea to save the videos and show them to the police so that they could arrest that person. But Jack refused it by saying accessing the deep web is illegal, and we could end up in trouble if we did so. We refused the assassinator's offer by saying that we did not have that much money, even though he offered us a discount. We did not want to talk to him anymore, so we closed that chat room, and after running antivirus throughout my laptop, I shut it down. From then on, I only surfed the deep web for information-related purposes. The videos were so bizarre and horrible that I would never forget them throughout my life. In 2019, I had just finished high school and got admitted to college. At that time, numerous stories about the deep web were circulating among people who needed to learn more about computers. Before 2019, I had never heard of the deep web, but as I mentioned earlier, I had great enthusiasm for computers. So after asking some of my friends and the knowledge that I gained from some of my own research, I was able to access the deep web. Back in school, I had a friend named John. He was an expert in computers, and he was working as a part-time programmer at some nearby software house, and he was also studying in college with me. John and I always used to talk about different things that were trending on social media and the internet back in 2019. One day after our college class, when we were talking casually about the internet, John told me about how he got into the deep web, and he started telling me horrible stories. Before that time, I somehow knew about the deep web to some extent, but did not know how to access it because the last time when I opened the deep web, I found some chat rooms, but most of them were people trying to scam beginners by sending spam links. So I did not find the things that John was talking about at that time. My curiosity started to push me from the inside, so I couldn't resist. Eventually, I asked him if he could come over to my place whenever he was free, so that we could access that content on my PC. Still, he refused me by saying that he could only come next week as he was busy with his part-time job. I agreed because I did not have any other choice than to wait for him. But after just 2 days, I was taking classes at my college and I saw that John was there. So I approached him, and he told me that he was free for the 2 days because the owner of that software house had to go somewhere in an emergency, as one of his close relatives who lived in another city died yesterday. Hence, the owner had to close his software house for 2 days. It was the perfect opportunity for me to learn more about the deep web from John, and ask him if he could come with me to my place. And he agreed, as he had nothing much to do. We sat in John's car and went to my place. I told John to sit in my computer chair, and I would watch him and take notes about his procedure. John opened the Tor browser, better known as Onion browser, and started all the stuff like creating virtual space and other preventive measures to avoid getting hacked. I was shocked when after some time, John told me that someone from the deep web had already hacked my PC almost 3 times because I clicked on the spam links that the hacker sent on one of the deep web chat rooms. But fortunately, John updated my security wall so nobody could hack me again, at least that easily. After all the security checks, almost 1 hour passed, and I started getting a little bit frustrated because John was not showing me the techniques to get access to the creepy and bizarre stuff deep inside the dark web. And when I asked him politely about it, he told me that it would take 30 to 40 minutes to get that stuff. As I did not have any other choice than to wait for another 30 minutes, I went to the kitchen to grab some snacks and juice for John. And when I returned, I was surprised to see that John was talking to someone in the chat room. As soon as I entered my room, John told me that he had just found some guy from Russia who claimed that he was some sort of middleman from some illegal human trafficking group and drug dealers. And the guy was asking us if we were interested in something related to 18+ content. But we were really shocked when the guy used the term child pornography, and he also said that they only accept payment in Bitcoin. John and I decided to pretend that we were interested in such things so the guy could send us some more proof and sample videos. We could record the conversation and use it as proof against the guy after reporting a complaint against him to the police station. We turned on our mobile phone camera and placed it on the table at such an angle to easily record his conversation. After that, John asked him if he could send us some videos as a sample with different choices so we could decide and pay him in Bitcoin, to which the guy quickly agreed. And he sent us some videos in which almost 9 to 10 girls were standing against a wall. We were terrified and sad to see that their ages ranged from early teens to late 40s. And there were 2 men who were forcing them to take their clothes off. And there were different wounds on the girls' bodies, like someone had hit them brutally. They were treating them like slaves. After that, the man sent us their rates, and they had the proper menu in which different prices were set that varied according to the girl's age. We could not look anymore, and that was enough proof for us that we could use against those guys. But when we told the cops about them, they told us they couldn't do anything about it, as those guys were using different IP addresses and locations, so it was nearly impossible to track them. However, the police forbade us from using the deep web as it was illegal, and after that, I never tried to access the deep web again. It was something that still gives me goosebumps whenever I think about those girls who those cruel guys enslaved.